History books rarely mention them, but deep in the swamps of Florida, long before the Civil War, there existed a community that refused to bow, bend, or break. They were called the Black Seminoles, a powerful alliance of escaped African slaves, freedmen, and Seminole Indians who built a society built on freedom, independence, and fierce resistance, a society so strong that U.S. officials feared it. And at the center of this story stand names history tried to bury. During the 1700s and early 1800s, enslaved Africans fled the harsh plantations of Georgia and the Carolinas. Many escaped through dangerous swamps and rivers until they reached Spanish Florida, a land where European control was weak. There, they encountered the Seminole people. Instead of rejecting them, the Seminoles embraced these runaways. They welcomed them as family, allies, and partners. This created a new nation, Black Seminoles, also called Maroons. Leaders like Abraham, also known as Negro Abraham, a brilliant interpreter and diplomat, helped unite the groups. Another key figure was John Horse, also called Juan Caballo, one of the greatest black freedom fighters in early American history. Together, they built thriving farming communities, defended their land, and lived under their own laws. But their freedom angered the United States. Why? Because their existence inspired enslaved people everywhere to escape. Politicians like Andrew Jackson saw the Black Seminoles as a threat. Plantation owners complained that their slaves kept disappearing, heading south to join this free black nation. So, the U.S. Army decided the Black Seminoles had to be crushed. This led to the Seminole Wars, the longest and most expensive Indian conflict in U.S. history. And the Black Seminoles were right in the center of it. When the U.S. ordered all Seminoles to relocate to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma, the Black Seminoles refused. They had tasted freedom. They weren't giving it back. Under leaders like John Horse, Juan Caballo, Abraham, Wildcat Cocucci, a fearless Seminole chief, and Osceola, the most famous Seminole resistance leader, the Black Seminoles fought back with jungle-style warfare that the U.S. Army had never seen before. They hid in thick swamps, struck with surprise attacks, and vanished before soldiers could react. General Thomas Jessup, the U.S. commander, was stunned. He wrote privately, "This is a Negro war, not an Indian war." He knew the Black Seminoles were the backbone of the resistance. The U.S. Army used dirty tactics, false treaties, and surprise captures. They captured Osceola under a false flag of truce, something even his enemies called dishonorable. They kidnapped Black Seminole families, hoping to weaken the fighters. But even then, John Horse and Wildcat refused to give up. They led daring escapes, including one legendary moment where they slipped out of prison and escaped by climbing through a tiny opening high in a prison wall. Eventually, many Black Seminoles were forced to march to Indian Territory. But the danger wasn't over. Slave hunters, plantation owners, and even government officials wanted them enslaved again. So John Horse did something unimaginable. He led hundreds of Black Seminoles out of the United States entirely, on foot, across the border into Mexico. There, Mexican officials welcomed them, and for the first time in generations, they lived truly free. Mexico even made them elite border fighters known as the Negro Seminole Scouts. Even after escaping to Mexico, many later returned to the U.S. as highly skilled military scouts. Names like Britt Johnson, Adam Payne, Pompey Factor, Isaac Payne earned the Medal of Honor, the highest award in the U.S. military. But their contributions were rarely celebrated. They protected Texas settlers, rescued kidnapped civilians, and fought off raiding parties. Yet most Americans never hear their names. The story of the Black Seminoles is one of the greatest freedom stories in American history. A community of escaped slaves who built a nation, warriors who defeated U.S. troops again and again, leaders like John Horse, Abraham, Wildcat, and Osceola who shaped the destiny of thousands, a people who marched across countries rather than returned to chains, fighters who earned the Medal of Honor but were written out of the textbooks. Their story was too powerful, too inspiring, so it was pushed aside. But it didn't disappear. You just weren't meant to hear it. Today, descendants of the Black Seminoles live in Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, the Bahamas, and Mexico. They still carry the memory of warriors America tried to forget, and now, their story lives again,